If you buy something from a Verge link, Vox Media may earn a commission. See our ethics statement. Asus did it. It's made a dual-screen laptop that, and there was a time when I never thought I'd be saying these words, is actually pretty good. Asus has been doing this dual-screen form factor for a while, and parts of the $1,999.99 and up Zenbook Pro Duo 14 OLED are nothing we haven't seen before. Like previous models in the Duo line, there's a big 14.5-inch screen on the top and a smaller 12.7-inch screen on the back of the keyboard deck, the screen pad. Plus, below that screen is the keyboard, reaching all the way to the front of said deck, with a teensy touchpad crammed to its right. But the company has made a small tweak that has made the experience significantly more comfortable. It has raised the secondary screen by 12 degrees. Asus Zenbook Pro Duo 14 OLED. Verge score 9. Good stuff. Bad stuff. This, reader, has changed everything. You see, last year's 14-inch Zenbook Duo model only tilted the secondary screen up by 7 degrees. The 2020 model was even flatter. In both cases, I was constantly craning my neck to lean over whenever I needed to see anything on the second screen. The increase to 12 degrees doesn't look huge on paper, but it's finally, made the screen just high enough that I no longer need to crane. Right now, as I type this, I am leaning back in my office chair. I am actually reclining slightly. I can see the Pro Duo's primary screen and can also see the content off its secondary screen just fine. I can read the words on the secondary screen in this reclined state. Here are other various tweaks that make the secondary screen significantly easier to see from a distance than it has been in the past. For one, it's brighter than last year's, now reaching 500 nits. It's also higher resolution, 2880 by 864. And there's a new anti-glare etching that keeps it from reflecting ceiling light, which has been a nuisance in the past. Folks, the second screen is actually useful now. On previous models, it's just been a place to throw distractions like Slack and Twitter while my real work happened on the top half. Now, I can keep reference materials down there to glance at and read while I work. Now, does that mean its benefits finally outweigh the compromises required in order to fit a whole second screen onto this laptop? For me, no. But we're at the point where that's really just a preference for keyboard location. Asus has fixed basically everything else. For example, Screen Expert. This software allows the Duo's two screens to work together and has come a long way from the glitchy and unresponsive mess it once was. The new version that's on this device, Screen Expert 3, looks significantly more professional than previous iterations. It's all snappy to use, and windows resized the way they were supposed to. And while I occasionally had to tap a button a couple times to get something to open, that was the extent of the issues I had. It's intuitive with a remarkably easy learning curve, which has not always been the case with Screen Expert software. There's a taskbar, like a floating miniature Windows taskbar, with quick buttons for various features like toggling brightness, phone mirroring, opening an app, navigation screen, locking the keyboard, and making all the windows on the screen pad disappear to display the desktop background. I was prepared to complain about the questionable utility of some of these, but it turns out that there is some amount of customization you can do in the Control Center settings panel, which I found after a bit of exploring. You can also adjust the taskbar's location by dragging it to the bottom or either side. I remain a fan of the task groups feature, also accessible from this taskbar, which allows you to save a configuration of tabs and apps in an arrangement of your choice to open again at a later date. This is something I use a lot on Duo devices. ScreenXpert 3 looks significantly more professional than previous iterations. The other fix I'm very happy about pertains to the touchpad. The Duo 14's touchpad is so tiny as to be basically useless. On previous models, I've just set a stylus for every possible situation. That's what I was doing here, until I discovered touchpad mode. Touchpad mode allows you to turn the screen pad into a giant touchpad. All you have to do is tap it with 3 fingers. To turn it back into a screen pad, you tap an X in the Top right corner. The touchpad works well and is as responsive to all the various gestures as a regular one would be. There are downsides, of course. 1. There's no clicking mechanism, but tap to click does work well. You also are reaching over the keyboard to use it, which is a bit weird, but something I got used to. And the touchpad interface is opaque, so when you have it pulled up, you can't see the other content that you have sitting on the screen pad. I hope Asus is able to make it even the tiniest bit more translucent in the future, but I'm still very happy to see this feature here. The Intel Core i7-12700H inside is a mainstream processor that we've mostly seen in high-performance gaming laptops and workstations to date, including Alienware X14. My unit also has 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB of storage in addition to an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3050 Ti GPU. Asus says it will cost $1,999.99, which I don't think for these specs. The performance in my general work use cases was as good as you'd expect. I'd have Chrome tabs stacked on top of Zoom calls or YouTube streams with no issues in either screen. The RTX 3050 Ti isn't necessarily designed for AAA gaming and is weaker than other laptop GPUs you can get at this price point, but it can certainly make older, lighter titles a possibility. I'd have Chrome tabs stacked on top of Zoom calls or YouTube streams with no issues on either screen. While the keyboard was sometimes warm, I never felt uncomfortable heat there or on the bottom of the device. This appears to be thanks to Asus' new cooling system, termed Ice Cool Plus, which includes two 12-volt fans with 97 and 93 blades, respectively. Asus claims that the device stays under 28 decibels when in the whisper mode cooling profile, and that seems accurate as far as I can tell. Even when I wasn't on whisper mode, I barely ever heard the fans. Battery life was more of a mixed bag. I averaged around 5 hours of continuous work with both screens at medium brightness. That's obviously not close to a full day, but also not a terrible result given that this device is running two high-resolution screens. The original Pro Duo lasted just over 2.5 hours, and the gaming-oriented and way more expensive Zephyrus Duo 15 made it 1 hour and 48 minutes with this same workload. If you need a lot of juice, you can easily turn off the screen pad with a hotkey on the keyboard. Primary screen is 1610, hooray, and is one of the first, if not the very first, 120Hz OLED displays on a laptop. The port selection is pretty good, including two Thunderbolt 4 ports, a full-sized HDMI 2.1, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A, an SD Express 7.0 card reader, and a combo audio jack. I'm glad to see this device holding onto the HDMI and SD card slot, as all kinds of other premium 14-inchers ditch them for the world of USB-C. And this thing really should not be skimping on ports because I've never wanted to plug an external keyboard and mouse into something more. There are a few Asus-specific connectivity features as well, including Wi-Fi Smart Connect, which helps the device automatically connect to the best signal in its current environment. All this is great, which makes it even more unfortunate that I'm still not loving using it. Basically, the Pro Duo 14 has convinced me that even the best possible iteration of the dual-screen form factor isn't enough to overcome the fact that I can't stand having a keyboard in this position. I know some love front-mounted keyboards, and for the life of me, I will never understand you people. This is even a great keyboard. The keys are clicky with a decent 1.4 mm of travel, a spec that I would usually swoon over. But I am constantly typing with my hands pressed against my chest like a T-Rex, and I hate it. I don't know that this is something Asus can fix. I think we're running into a wall of personal preference with this design. I will just never enjoy using a keyboard that doesn't give me anywhere to rest my wrists. But there are absolutely people who don't have this issue, and for you folks, I think this is legitimately a good buy. The Pro Duo 14, Asus has done everything it possibly could to make a good, practical, usable dual-screen system. I legitimately think most problems that could have been fixed have been fixed. In our fairly critical review of the first generation Zenbook Duo, Chaim Gartenberg wrote, "There is a great laptop buried within the rock clay." 3 years later, Asus has dug that laptop out. This is great. The story with Duo laptops from here on out may just come down to whether you like having a keyboard on the front of your deck, which, given how many other issues these devices have had in the past, is a very good sign for their future. Photography by Monica Chin, The Verge. Agree to continue. Asus Zenbook Pro Duo 14 OLED. Every smart device now requires you to agree to a series of terms and conditions before you can use it, contracts that no one actually reads. It's impossible for us to read and analyze every single one of these agreements. But we started counting exactly how many times you have to hit agree to use devices when we review them, since these are agreements most people don't read and definitely can't negotiate. As with other Windows computers, the Asus Zenbook Pro Duo 14 OLED presents you with multiple things to agree to or decline upon setup. The mandatory policies, for which an agreement is required, are. In addition, there is a slew of optional things to agree to. That's 6 mandatory agreements and 14 optional ones.